Ladies and gentlemen, let's swiftly move on to the next plenary for this morning prior to lunch. May I invite the moderators for the dyslipidemia plenary. Moderators would be Dr. Ruan Ekanayaka, Senior Consultant Cardiologist, Dr. Roshan Paranamana, Consultant Cardiologist, and Dr. Udita Hevaratna, Consultant Cardiologist. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the lecture. Actually, it's going to be a lecture with case-based lecture with the audience response. So our speaker is going to be Dr. M.R. Mubarak. He's a consultant cardiologist currently working at Lanka Hospital, Colombo. He our past president of Sri Lanka Heart Association. He doesn't need any introduction because he's very famous for this dyslipidemia management and lectures around the country. Over to you, sir. And the audience actually, this will consist of 10 questions, and audience can choose a best answer, and you will be given 20 seconds for your response. So over to you, sir.
Thank you. First of all, I thank Dr. Stanley Amarasekara, the President, Sri Lanka College of Cardiology, for giving me this opportunity to talk about dyslipidemia. And he once called me and said, you should do the lecture case-based. I said, yes. That's all. That's it. So now, to make it more interesting, my lecture will consist of 3 cases, which are shown in the heart. We manage dyslipidemia to prevent heart attacks and strokes. So that is our main objective theme of having a lecture. There will be 10 questions, and be ready to answer on your devices. So disclosure, I have nothing much to tell about in relation to this session or presentation. So this testing your device, this question is just testing the device, and just you answer, you can answer. This will help me to stop the lecture at this slide or whether to proceed the answers. I am here to learn everything about lipid management. I may not benefit very much because I have already read all 78 pages of ESC guidelines. I have nothing much to learn because I have been treating lipids for many years. I hope this lecture will update the current management of lipids to reduce the cardiovascular risk. I don't believe in statins and lipid lowering guidelines in CVD prevention. So that is your choice. Quickly, 20 seconds will be given, I think. Is it working? Working? Yeah. I just put this question for to set your devices on. Not working. There, you can check with them. Right, only virtual audience, right. Okay, you all are lucky. Right, answers please. Oh, D. I think I have to continue the lecture now. Right, thanks. So now to the basics of understanding the lipids. So you get plasma proteins. On your side, you see chylomicrons and remnants. That is from the gut, from the intestine or food, chylomicron. Other lipoproteins, VLD and IDL, produced by the liver. IDL is the remnant, VLDL, LDL, and lipoprotein A and HDL. These are the lipoproteins. As you know, the LDL cholesterol is the atherogenic lipoprotein, and we all know about LDL cholesterol. But we all don't know, we don't talk very much about atherogenic triglyceride-rich lipoproteins, VLD and IDL. They are also atherogenic because they contain cholesterol. And all these VLDL, IDL, LDL, and lipoprotein A all are atherogenic lipoproteins, which are called non-HDL cholesterol. So when you look at the picture on the top, you see ApoB, 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 and ApoB. These are the protein components of the lipoprotein. So when you want to assess cardiovascular risk in a lipid profile, our first objective is to check the LDL cholesterol, and then non-HDL cholesterol, and third, you can measure the ApoB, because ApoB is the lipoprotein, the protein component in all the atherogenic lipoproteins. The labs can measure the ApoB levels. So that also will give some indication of the risk of your individual cardiovascular risk in a moderate risk individual. So all these trials, I'm not going into these, show that the lower the LDL, the association is greater reduction of coronary artery disease. That is our main objective, reducing the LDL cholesterol. So can the LDL cholesterol be too low? That is a very good question people used to ask. When the cholesterol is low, the lab highlights the figure and give it to the patient, and they come back or call back, say that my LDL cholesterol is 65. And as if they are going to die the next day morning, they come rushing to us to show a low LDL report. So many experimental, epidemiological, randomized clinical trials, genetic studies have demonstrated the safety of low and extremely low LDL cholesterol levels. And we know that we are born with an LDL cholesterol of 30 to 40 milligrams per deciliter, and we have come to this level with good knowledge, good brain functions, and we have nothing has happened to us with a low LDL cholesterol. So there is no evidence to say that there is increased risk of cancer, hemorrhagic stroke, non-cardiovascular death, or neurocognitive dysfunction. So you are safe with a low LDL. And some of the newer PCSK inhibitors like Fourier trial and other trials have shown that people have the drug has reduced the LDL cholesterol to below 30 milligram and followed up for nearly 6 years, and there were no major adverse effects due to the low LDL cholesterol. The principles of management of a lipid, 3 things you should understand. First assess the cardiovascular risk category. Any individual coming with a lipid profile, see whether what is the risk category. I will come to that in a few slides. Look for the baseline LDL cholesterol level. Go back and find out what was the patient's or the individual's basal LDL cholesterol level, baseline level. What was to start with, if you can get it. Manage according to the guideline recommended goals. And there will be goals in the ESC guideline, and we go to that. So always follow these guidelines. In an ESC guideline, we come to the low LDL cholesterol, where there is the low LDL cholesterol, the low risk category. When the low risk category, the target of LDL cholesterol is 116. That is simple. Anybody coming, no major risk factors, young individuals coming with lipid profile, LDL cholesterol target is 116. But if it is moderate risk, for example, this is a moderate risk. Any diabetic, young diabetic, newly onset diabetes, target is 100 milligrams. So we know that any diabetic should have an LDL cholesterol of below 100. But when it comes to high risk and very high, you have to be aggressively treat these individuals. For example, you see high risk 70 milligram, very high risk 55 milligram LDL cholesterol. But before coming to the target, just refer this arrow. When somebody is in the high risk or very high risk, the first objective is to reduce the LDL cholesterol below 50% the baseline level. That is the first objective. Then you see whether the target is reached, 55 or 70 accordingly. If a diabetic has a LDL cholesterol of 100 milligrams to start, for a high risk individual or very high risk individual, have a LDL cholesterol of 100 to start with, the first of our objective is to reduce it to 50%. That is the first target. Next, you see whether the numbers are reached 55 or 70 according to the level. And there is another risk category, extremely high risk category, where you have patients have cardiovascular events, recurrent events. In spite of treatment, their LDL goal is not marked here. It should be below 40 milligrams per deciliter. There are people who come with strokes, recurrent myocardial infarctions. The target is below 40 milligrams. So now the first case, 55-year-old hotel gentleman coming for an advice on lipid profile report. He doesn't have any cardiovascular disease, so this is the first time he's coming to see you. And he tells his story. He's a divorced, living in a city apartment, mostly at restaurants, alcohol, smoking, and limited physical activity. Blood pressure is high, HbA1c 6.3, and there is fatty liver, SGPT, SGOT high, and HB 6.7. These are typical gentleman coming to see you just to show his report. And he has done his lipid report test as requested by a GP friend, where he met him at a party. And he just shows his diary, and you are telling him, doctor, this is my report. And you just note down these numbers. The next question depends on this report. Total 153, triglyceride 540, HDL 34, and LDL nothing written. Now, question. So how are you going to comment on this report? Tell him that you can't accept this report and do it in a reputed lab. Straight away, you put it in a bin. Number A. Advise him on diet, exercise, stop alcohol, smoking, and to control his blood pressure and sugar. Start him on fenofibrate straight away. Repeat lipid profile after 12 hours of fasting in a lab where direct LDL measurement is done. Start him on high strength omega-3 fish oil capsules. Now you can vote. He doesn't have any cardiovascular disease. He has just come with a lipid profile report, but you have found certain clinical findings, and we have to get what you are going to advise him at this stage. The next question will follow after that. Answers, please. B, advise him on diet. That's correct. But when I said anybody treating with a lipid profile, coming with a lipid profile, you have to assess his cardiovascular risk, and you should know where is the LDL. So we don't have an answer for this LDL. So that is why D should be correct. Repeat the lipid profile after 12 hours of fasting, and when the triglyceride is high, see that they fasted. Sometimes they may not fast, and because the dietary VLDL and chylomicrons can add to triglycerides, and where a direct LDL measurement is done. So when it comes to a lipid profile, the lab, normally in a standard lipid profile, lab measures total cholesterol, HDL cholesterol, and triglycerides. These are the three measurements done in a laboratory lipid profile, and then they use the Friedewald formula and calculate the LDL cholesterol. Total cholesterol minus HDL cholesterol, triglyceride upon 5 milligrams, that is the LDL cholesterol. You cannot apply this formula when the triglyceride value is above 400 milligrams per deciliter. So this patient's, it was not calculated by the lab staff because it was very high. So direct enzymatic methods for the measurement of LDL cholesterol have been developed, and now it's commercially available in this country. That is why you have to do it in a lab. So all these, most of the labs do it, but the cost will be higher. The lipid profile, they will charge nearly 2,000 rupees. But if they do a simple standard profile, they'll charge about 500 to 600 rupees. So that is the answer for that. Now he comes back and with a lipid profile, and with much difficulty, he is trying to get the lipid profile, his report, and he's showing his device with a new lipid profile. Total cholesterol 189, triglyceride 280, HDL 30, and LDL 99. So now we have a decent lipid profile report. And now what are you going to do? Next step in the management is prescribe fenofibrate. B, prescribe high intensity statins. 3, he does not need any lipid lowering drugs. Advised to take omega-3 fish oils. Estimate his global cardiovascular risk. You can answer. Whenever somebody sees a high triglyceride, it's a reflex, you give a fenofibrate. That is not the way. High statins may be correct, but as I said, answer please. E, estimate the high global, very good. So you have to assess the cardiovascular risk of this individual to give a dose, whatever you are going to give it. So in a cardiovascular risk estimation, many risk calculation charts are available. We can see it in your devices. ESC recommends a systematic coronary risk evaluation score chart. That is called SCORE. SCORE should be calculated in asymptomatic adults between the ages of 40 to 65 and who do not have cardiovascular disease, diabetes, CKD, familial hypercholesterolemia, or if the LDL cholesterol is more than 190 milligrams. So that is the indication. If any of these having these conditions, you don't have to calculate the risk chart. They automatically falls into a very high risk or high risk. So if you don't have any cardiovascular disease, first check whether diabetes, CKD, familial hypercholesterolemia, and if the LDL is more than 190, no chart calculation, straight away they fall into a high risk category. So then you are going to calculate the risk for this individual. So in the risk chart, two things, men and women, there is a chart. You can go to the men's side and you see the age. He is in 50s, 55, you go to this column here, and systolic blood pressure chart is here, he is coming here, and total cholesterol is 5, around 5 is coming here in this category, and he's falling into the high risk group. 5 to 10% 10-year risk of fatal cardiovascular events, and he's a high risk individual. So he is going to get a cardiovascular death in the next 5 to 10 years, 5 to 10%. It's a very high number, high percentage. So he is a high risk individual. So what is the ESC high risk category? Anybody having a high risk, familial hypercholesterolemia, diabetes with target organ damage, moderate CKD, and a calculated score of 5 to 10% for 10 years. So this individual, and all these are high risk category in a ESC guidelines. So finally you approach to Mr. AB. Now that he is high risk, and now what are you going to do? How are you going to manage him? Number 1A, aggressive lifestyle changes, diet, weight, exercise, smoking, alcohol, blood pressure, blood sugar control, and exclude all secondary causes. High intensity statins to achieve LDL target of less than 70. If triglyceride remains elevated, despite statin treatment of fish oil, once the LDL level is reached below 70, triglyceride remains high, more than 200, fenofibrate, all the above. Can what? Answer, please. Right, some little bit variations. The correct answer is all the above. This is the guideline. This is the ESC guideline. First, risk factor modifications. Number A, give high intensity statins because he's a high risk individual. When there is high risk, LDL target is below 70. So you should not start on fenofibrate, you should start on high intensity statins and bring his LDL cholesterol below 70. If the statin treatment, after that you give triglyceride, you can give fish oil. You don't start with the fish oil. When you give fish oil, what happens? The triglyceride will be coming down, LDL cholesterol will go up. So first you target the LDL cholesterol, bring the LDL cholesterol down and reduce its risk, cardiovascular risk, and then add the fish oil. That will reduce the triglycerides. If that doesn't come down, then you give a fenofibrate to reduce the triglycerides. And all the above is the correct answer. So now, what are the lessons learned? You know about metabolic syndrome, secondary causes of triglyceride, high risk category, and missed opportunity. Why it's called missed opportunity? This patient really had a myocardial infarction, inferior MI, because he was on fenofibrate for so many years. Next, 50-year-old school teacher living in a suburban town in Colombo. Presenting with a type 2 diabetes, 13 years, stroke, age 15 years, father, losartan metformin, healthy diet, low carbohydrate, consumes bitter gourd, curry leaves and garlic to keep herself healthy, walks to school and not taking statins. So he's a diabetic, long-standing diabetes, not taking statins. Just look at her, she has microalbumin positive, cholesterol 212, triglyceride 171, HDL 51, LDL 123. If somebody has LDL of 123, falling into a very high risk category, this diabetic, you should know how to treat by now. What is your advice? Rosuvastatin 5 milligram and clopidogrel 75 milligram. Advise her to be little more strict on diet and more exercise. Prescribe atorvastatin 40 milligram and rosuvastatin 20 milligram. Or advise her to take high strength omega-3 fish oils. Prescribe atorvastatin 10 milligram or rosuvastatin 5 milligram. You can vote. Now, by now we know that she is falling into a high risk category. Why? It's a chronic diabetic for more than 10 years, and she has an end organ damage, microalbuminuria. So he should be falling into a high risk, very high risk category. So start with atorvastatin 40, rosuvastatin 20 milligram. Answer, please. But we see even all 5 answers we see in our practical life. Diabetics are not on adequate statins. Sometimes they are being given low dose of statins. Sure. Number 3, 40 milligrams. So my lecture is working. All right. Very high risk category. So documented ASVD, documented ASV on imaging, imaging. So we see nowadays patients undergo CT coronary angiograms, and we see high risk categories and scope. So now we go to the next. Now she is retired, 60 years, and feels breathless on walking to the temple. She thinks it is because she had put on extra weight. ECG X-ray normal, stress CG stage 2 positive, and she has already had undergone a CT coronary angiogram, which showed mild to moderate triple vessel disease, and she was recommended on aggressive medical management, and she was started on aspirin correctly, metoprolol, beta blockers, losartan, and metformin, and statins. And this is her lipid profile now: 170, total cholesterol, LDL 93, HDL 50, triglycerides. So now what are you going to do? Now 93 LDL. Because of a lipid profile, next question, you can vote. Lipid profile is within normal range. I will not force her to take any statins because LDL is 93. I will advise to continue atorvastatin 20 milligram, which she was taking, because somebody has prescribed 40 milligram. She had not taken because she had her own theory of not taking the statins. Prescribe good quality rosuvastatin 5 milligram to be taken every other day. Convince her to take atorvastatin 40 milligram rosuvastatin. The convincing part is important. You have to have a shared decision making. You have to explain the risk and tell the benefit, and she might realize. Otherwise, she will go to Dr. Google and get the answers, and she will follow that. Prescribe simvastatin 40 milligram. That is normally recommended, not recommended, because simvastatin 40 milligram is a moderate intensity statin. Answer, please. I think chairperson will have to give me extra time. Correct answer, D. Convince her to take. That's the important thing. You have to explain the risk and tell the benefit, and she will definitely will take the statin. That is shared decision making. So now the sad part of the story. She had not been taking it, and sudden burning pain in her chest around 2 a.m. and which she relates to the chicken kottu she had at a dinner, and her husband had immediately given her a spoonful of Eno. That is the common treatment, home remedy for the pain, relieved, morning fainting in the bathroom, and she was rushed to ETO, inferior STEMI. And she was given aspirin, ticagrelor, atorvastatin 80 milligram, and to cath lab, and everything happened, and she had an inferior MI and primary PCI done, uncomplicated recovery, and she is after an acute myocardial infarction now, acute coronary syndrome, and discharged on these drugs, and you are going to write the statins for her. So this is the lipid profile done within 24 hours of discharge, within 24 hours of MI, and LDL cholesterol is 66 now, immediately after the myocardial infarction. And the lab says repeated and confirmed. We get this question. I purposefully put this report. Some of these lab reports come, no reference ranges are given, and people look at these things and say that my LDL is low, I am normal, lipid is normal, like that, because they don't assess their real risk. And management, discharge on question 7, discharge on atorvastatin 80, prescribe atorvastatin 40 milligram, atorvastatin 40 milligram to reduce that to 10 milligram on discharge. This happens. Discharge on atorvastatin 40, ezetimibe 10 and PCK inhibitor. She does not need any statins on discharge. Because LDL is 66, you can say that you can diet and control it. Answer please. I will have to rush. Okay. Discharge on atorvastatin 80 milligram. Good. But only if she can tolerate it. That is the important thing. Atorvastatin 40 milligram and 10 milligram is another choice because she has not taken it all these days. And others, you should not do that. Lipid therapy in acute coronary syndrome. All patients in an acute coronary syndrome, you should start with high intensity statin therapy. That is the basic thing. And you do a lipid profile before discharge as soon as possible and check the lipid level. And you have to do a lipid profile after 4 to 6 weeks. If more than 50% reduction is not available, you should bring the LDL cholesterol below 55. And this is the goal. And lipid lowering agents, statins, ezetimibe, and PCSK inhibitors. And what is the lesson we learned? Long-standing diabetes should be on high-intensity statins, target of below 55. Otherwise, shared decision-making, statin therapy in acute coronary syndrome, straight away start with high-intensity statins without looking at the baselines. Place for ezetimibe India, this is also a missed opportunity. These two patients, they came with the primary prevention, but we have missed our opportunity and they ended up in the myocardial infarctions. So another third patient, it's a different category. I will rush this a little faster. Farmer having a small plot of land, belongs to his family. He comes with a MI. He had a local hospital acute chest pain, and he had a MI myocardial infarction, and he was discharged, thrombolized, and discharged with atorvastatin 20 milligram with other medications. Then he comes to you, see you after 2 weeks with a lipid profile. So this is a case of acute myocardial infarction, a farmer discharged on atorvastatin 20 milligram and coming with a lipid profile after 2 weeks. Ideally, the lipid profile should have been done during the admission. So 345 total cholesterol, triglyceride 190, HDL 40, LDL 257. So the acute period where there is high inflammation, we have not treated properly. Considering Mr. RG's lipids, likely to have homogeneous familial hypercholesterolemia. You have to think and answer. He should be started on high intensity statins to achieve LDL target of less than 100. Xanthelasma is pathognomonic of familial hypercholesterolemia. About xanthelasma, morning Dr. Ekanaika was talking a good lecture on physical science. Cascade screening is recommended in this case. Dutch Lipid Clinic or UK Simon Broom criteria helps in suspected familial hypercholesterolemia. This is all for you to just think and read, use your devices and see. You can answer. So in a case like this, when somebody's LDL cholesterol is, you can answer, I will talk, but answer please. When a familial, in a case where the LDL cholesterol is more than 190, you have to suspect familial hypercholesterolemia, right? Whether it is homogeneous or heterogeneous. Homogeneous, they present very early. By 5, 6, 7 years, they get myocardial infarction and they get all the complications. If they have grown up to this age, means it should be heterozygous familial hypercholesterolemia. And the incidence in the family, you can answer please. And in the family and in the population studies in the textbooks, they say it is 1 in 500. But nowadays they have said that it is 1 in 200 to 1 in 250. We get many cases of patients with more than 190. So what you have to do is you have to do the family screening and look for other clinical features of hypercholesterolemia, familial hypercholesterolemia. And genetic studies are available, not practically possible to do it in clinical practice. Answer please. And the criteria, the Dutch Lipid Clinic and Simon Broom criteria are available. Those are all charts. calculation charts, but practically not possible to do it in clinical practice. It's a wide variation, right? So now you know that it is not homogeneous. It is not homogeneous. It is heterogeneous familial hypercholesterolemia because it's an adult who has grown up to this age, right? And LDL target should be below 55 because familial hypercholesterolemia with coronary artery disease, the target is below 55, right? If there is no coronary artery disease, target is 70. It is not 100. Xanthelasma is not pathognomonic. There are any patient with hypercholesterolemia, you can have xanthelasma. But tendon xanthomas, which showed a pathognomonic of familial hypercholesterolemia. Cascade screening is the family screening. So he shows continues. The history continues. He was prescribed atorvastatin 40 milligram and 10 milligram. This is how, and he has a strong family history, sudden cardiac deaths, many sudden cardiac deaths, and he was given 40 milligram of ezetimibe and 40 milligram atorvastatin and ezetimibe 10 milligram. And this is his coronary angiogram showing two vessel disease, and this is the patient. Here you can see, you can ARCUS, the ARCUS, the juvenile ARCUS, which showed, Dr. Ekanaka showed me, is a important sign you should look for in these patients. They comes in their 40s. The senile ARCUS comes when they are older, but this comes at a younger age. And he has xanthelasma and tendon xanthomas, and which he has undergone a small surgery in the foot when he was young. That was, some surgeon has cut the lump on the Achilles tendon, and it was actually a tendon xanthomas. So this is the patient's clinical signs. So he comes after 5 years. He has lived with these symptoms, with this MI, 40 milligrams of atorvastatin and 10 milligram of ezetimibe. But he has lost his income because of the COVID, and he has gone to his local doctor in the dispensary and tell that I have body aches and pains. The doctor has reduced the atorvastatin to 20 milligram. The patient's daughter is a campus student, and she decided to come back to Colombo, and he's asking for a new prescription now. So when you look at these investigations, his latest cholesterol shows 196 and LDL 95. So in these patients, now you know that, everybody knows that he is a very high risk individual. The target should be less than 55. So what is your advice to Mr. RG now? Stop atorvastatin because his SGPT and CPK are elevated. Stop. Atorvastatin can be continued because SGPT is not 3 times upper limit of normal. Atorvastatin can be continued even if CPK rises more than 5 times the upper limit of normal. Atorvastatin should be stopped because HbA is rising. Add fenofibrate to low dose atorvastatin. So here you can continue you can answer. Another 1-2 minutes. Atorvastatin can be given because SGPT is higher, but it is not upper limit of 3 times upper limit of normal. Can be continued. But if the CPK rises more than 5 times, you should stop the atorvastatin. You should stop the atorvastatin in this patient, and you have to repeat it after 1 week and see how it is. It's very common. You can have muscle necrosis can happen. He's a heavy farmer. CPK minor rises are possible. If the HbA1c is rising, it can be continued because GVT is not 3 times normal. Correct. Fenofibrate should not be added here. And stop because HbA1c rising, you have to treat the diabetes, but continue the atorvastatin. Common side effects are this, and these are common statin-associated muscle symptoms. SAMS common, mild elevations are common in SGPT. Diabetic can happen. Rhabdomyolysis, think when somebody is given, this happened this year. One of the patients who had a LAD stenting after acute coronary syndrome, discharged with 40 milligram atorvastatin, and they could not come back for the review. They have been continuing the statin 40 milligram. Son calls and say that she is going aches and back pain, and I asked to do the CPK. It was 15,000 CPK after about 8 weeks of treatment, and he had a rhabdomyolysis. It was managed by a physician colleague during the lockdown in February. So RG's future management: increase the dose of atorvastatin to 80 milligram, 40 milligram, and 10 milligram ezetimibe. You can answer. Monthly, biweekly subcutaneous injection of PCSK9 inhibitor should be added. 6 monthly subcutaneous injection of inclisiran option. Bompidoic acid is an alternative drug to lower the LDL cholesterol. This is for the future. If you can tolerate, you can give atorvastatin 80. You can answer. 40 milligram plus 10 It's another option. But this patient, if he had been taking 40 and 10, next option is to give a PCSK9 inhibitor. That is the next choice. This is not available in Sri Lanka, but it's available in India, our neighboring country. One injection costs nearly $50. Right? So if that is the option, if the patient cannot take statins, they can take 6 monthly subcutaneous injection, inclisiran. It's a new drug available. It's in the, not come to the market yet. And bompidoic acid is another drug. So in the treatment of LDL cholesterol, lifestyle modification is the baseline. High intensity statin at highest recommended dose or tolerable dose. So that is the patient decision. It's important. Next, you add ezetimibe if the target is not reached. If that target is not reached in another 4 to 6 weeks, add PCSK inhibitor. That is the next addition. And if that is not working, LDL apheresis had been the treatment. But now there are two choices in the pipeline. Bompidoic acid and inclisiran is will be available soon in market. So to conclude that, learned lessons: LDL values in familial hypercholesterolemia, clinical signs of hypercholesterolemia, and high risk category, common side effects, ezetimibe, emerging agents, and importance of updating ourselves. So we should update the management. Otherwise, the patient will not be happy with your clinical decision, and you will lose your patients and they get to another place. So lastly, testing your clinical observations in dyslipidemia. We listened to one of the lectures Dr. Chandima Amarasena gave some time back, and anything you can mark out something dealing with dyslipidemia. Now highlighted. Can we see xanthomas? Can you see tendon? This xanthelasma, tendon xanthomas. Whether Mona Lisa had familial hypercholesterolemia, heterogeneous. So Da Vinci has drawn the real picture here. The hand, you can see the tendon xanthomas and xanthelasma. So is it familial hypercholesterolemia, heterogeneous? Or other differential diagnosis: mild goiter, hypothyroid phases, yellow tinge, whether it is hypothyroidism, and secondary hypercholesterolemia. You can discuss this during your lunch time. So take home message: manage dyslipidemia to reduce cardiovascular mortality. To do that, treat early, treat aggressively, and use combination therapy. And remember this telephone number: 55 for very high risk, 70 for high risk, 100 for moderate risk, 116 for mild low risk. And if they are extremely risk, remember the code number 40. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Muba. You have stimulated all of us, and we are all updated. And thank you very much for showing us Mona Lisa, because we will certainly remember her and remember hyperlipidemia lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I am honored to give this lecture in front of Dr. Ruwan Ekanayaka. When Sir came to our unit, I was the first senior registrar to go a ward round with him, and it was extremely tired ward round because it took hours to show the clinical science and ward rounds. Thank you, sir.
It was Dr. Mubarak actually who guided me through the cardio unit as soon as I came to Colombo as consultant cardio. Thank you very much, Mubarak, and I take this opportunity to thank you too.
Hello.
Yeah.
The risk prediction chart for the Sri Lankan, Thailand, and Indonesia. Now they have put a different chart, so we can't use the European risk prediction chart. If you can focus this on camera, they can show. This is called SEARB category. That means Southeast Asian region B. We are belong to that.
Different risk charts are available.
Yeah.
Even in the Europe, there are two charts.
Because
one chart for
now
the high risk and one for the low risk.
This red, green, yellow, maroon, this thing different
To
the other country, and we are not belong to Indian chart.
Yeah.
Indian chart is different from.
Just I gave there are so many charts available. I gave it an example to calculate the risk, and that is the chart in the European guideline.